G'day people, today is curry day. I'm going to make a beef curry. Now I've been down the butcher and I've got it's about 900 grams of brisket. So it's going to be a slow cook curry, which is the way to do curries. Do them fast. Mind you, it varies. If you're doing chicken, they can be pretty fast. Yeah. Anyway, this one's going to be slow. But here's the thing about curries. There's 100 million ways to make curry. I'm sure if you go to India, you'll find everyone does it a little bit differently. And you know, the major cities have got completely different cuisines and so on. So it's a real free-for-all when it comes to curries, and some people are going to do it better than others. If you go to a good curry restaurant, good Indian restaurant, you know, or a good Pakistani restaurant, you'll get a you'll get a really good curry. But if you go to a crap one, well, you won't get such a good curry. And if you make it yourself at home, well, maybe you're going to make a good one, maybe you're going to make a bad one. But I've been making curries for decades, and you know, they varied a lot. Hopefully I've learnt a fair bit since I began. Like, I've never actually taken a class in Indian cookery, so I certainly am not an expert on Indian cooking, not by any means. And if you want to do it the authentic Indian way, I suggest you go and look at an authentic Indian chef preparing it. You know, if you want to do it the right way, or the Indian way, go watch them. Don't watch me. But I'm going to do it my way, and the Australian way. Well, is it the Australian way? Not necessarily. Curries are very popular in Australia, like they are all around the world. Everyone loves a good curry, whether you're in England or Italy or South America or North America, Asia, wherever. Japan, you know, they love their curries in Japan. So all around the world, people love curry. Why do they love curry? Well, there's tremendous array of spices that you put into curry. Like, India is the home of spices. And there's this vast array of different flavours you can get from using different spices. And of course it's a mistake to throw in every spice just because it's there. It's a mistake. But I'm going to put a lot in today, a lot of different spices. Probably the one I question the most is turmeric. Is turmeric really as good as people think? Maybe the fact that I'm using powdered turmeric, maybe that's not a great idea. I don't know. But let's begin. And the thing you have to know, if you haven't made curries before, the thing you have to know is that the seeds, especially cumin seeds, they have to be fried. They've got to be dry fried to bring out the flavour. If you don't, if you just throw them in the way they are, or you just grind them the way they are, they just don't have the flavour. They just don't. So what you want to do is, I've just got a teaspoon and a half. I don't want too much cumin in this one. Cumin, it's probably cumin, I suppose, if we're being phonetic. So what we want to do is just wait until it just starts to smoke, just starts. You don't want to burn it, that'd be a mistake, but you want it to smoke. Just a little tiny bit. You can also smell it, you know. You can smell when the seeds are roasting, you know, and they roast and they split open a bit and they release just cook the inside the right way, you know, which you can't do when you're stewing it, you know. That's not how to cook cumin. The seeds will darken too. They'll darken. Hang on, let's see if we can see what's going on here. But you do have to watch it. You don't want to burn them. I mean, you want them to nearly burn, but not actually burn. Can you see it? You should be able to see we've got steam coming off, or there's just smoke coming off. Oh, for Christ's sake. I'm so sick of this fucking thing. I thought I filmed it perfectly. You got to press the fucking button twice. Thanks, dickheads. Anyway, then you grind them up. Don't have to grind them up too mad, because I'm gonna be cooking some other things. So the name of the game is always coriander is always the main spice. So you always want to cook up more coriander than everything else. So I'll do a tablespoon, at least a tablespoon of coriander. We've got some white mustard seed, just one teaspoon, and some fenugreek, again just a teaspoon. And that'll do for them. I'll put them away. Just let them sit there until they're done. Spewing, I didn't get this on video. It was just perfectly, just the smoke was just starting to come up, you know. Whoa, 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 whoa. Hey, check this out. So you can see it's just smoking there, and some of them are crackling. Popping! Snap, crackle, pop. It's like popcorn. Anyway, grind it up. If you're going to grind stuff by hand with a mortar and pestle like the good old days, don't muck around with a pissy little one. Get yourself a decent solid stone mortar and pestle with a heavy pestle. Heavy pestle, heavy mortar. You can really bang it. You can grind up anything, herbs, basil, whatever. Just grind it all up. Now you can add as much chilli as you like. I want this curry to have a bit of bite, so maybe I'll do 3 teaspoons of crushed chilies. 3 teaspoons of ground and crushed chilies. Now I like cloves. Cloves give a really nice what's the word? How would I describe the flavour of cloves? So it's about 6 cloves I put in. How would I describe them? Like, I wouldn't really say they're sweet. They're not actually sweet. That would be the wrong thing to say. I'll just put one teaspoon of ground turmeric. Ground turmeric. As I was saying before, if you want the real thing, you're probably better off getting some real turmeric, fresh turmeric. I don't know where you can buy fresh turmeric. Can you buy it in the supermarket? I don't know. And I'm going to throw in a cinnamon stick. Now what I can tell you, without equivocation, That's a good word for you people. Equivocation. Look it up. Without equivocation, cinnamon stick. The stick is so much better than pre-bought ground cinnamon. Pre-bought ground cinnamon is easy, but it does not taste the same. If you grind it yourself, you get this beautiful warm flavour. It's just marvellous, fantastic, rich, warm flavour. And when you buy it in the ground form, it's been sitting around for months. It's a pale shadow of the real thing. And you can easily do the real thing. Just grind it up yourself, like I'm doing here. It's not hard to do. Now obviously the best way to do this, the most efficient way to grind your spices, the most efficient way is to get yourself a spice grinder, you know, which are cheap and readily available, so I guess you could do that. It'd certainly be quicker than this. So, you know, this is the traditional way. That's alright, it doesn't take that long. I mean, it's pretty much done. And you know, it's a bit of fun. Grind your own spice. Get yourself a mortar and pestle and do it. You'll be in touch with the old traditions. How are we seeing this? Look at that. Fantastic, eh? Alright, so that's done. What I'm going to do now is to stew up some onions. So probably a couple of at least a couple of tablespoons of butter, at least. I mean, one thing, if you want to be closer to authentic Indian curry, the Indians aren't really big on using oil. They like their clarified butter. So you know, if you want to be authentic, well, use ghee. Get some ghee and use ghee. I haven't got any ghee, but I'm just going to use butter. And I think in this particular recipe, the butter's going to be really good. It's going to really go well with the beef. That's what I think. So just cut up some onions. Normally I only use one onion. These are quite big onions too. I'd only use one onion normally, but the Indians do love their onions. And you know, sometimes they use a lot of onions. Take your eye for 1 second. It's weird that. Half the pan, the butter was still melting, the other half was burning. God, crazy. Anyway, it's not going to burn if it's not on the stove, is it? If it's not on the heat, it won't burn, that's my theory. So I was, before I started this video, I was looking at some recipes. I've got a authentic Indian cookbook. And it's got a whole host of ancient traditional Indian recipes, most of which I've never seen in your normal Indian restaurants. If you go to a typical Indian restaurant, these are all very different. But some things are the same. So in and there is, there was a vindaloo recipe. And vindaloo probably is my favourite curry. I mean, it's probably not good for me to eat such hot. Because vindaloos are always hot, right? Not great for the digestive system if you're not used to it. But what the hell? That's what we're doing. Like I say, there's just so many ways to cook things. Even vindaloo, you know, which traditionally is from the Goa region and traditionally made with pork. So obviously it's a Hindu dish. The Muslims wouldn't be cooking with pork. But I haven't got any pork. I wanted to do beef. And in fact, if you go to Indian restaurants in Australia, I don't know that I've seen pork vindaloo. But apparently that is the traditional meat to use in vindaloo. Right. So I was reading that, and then I started, I watched a few vids on YouTube, how to cook vindaloo, and again, they varied, and they were Indians. I looked at 2 Indian things and they were quite different, and the amount of onion used, very different depending on who you watch. So I think the book called for 6 onions, I think, 2 pounds of pork and 6 onions, and one of the guys on YouTube, he said don't use too much onion, just 1 onion, and it wasn't even a big one. And then this woman I was watching, I think she was more authentic. Did she have 2 onions? Oh, I can't remember. But I think I'm going to try 2 onions. That's what I'm going to try. And garlic. Now, I guess Indians love their garlic. Of course they do. I mean, garlic naan. Who doesn't love garlic naan? Great, right? This guy I was watching, it was a cup of garlic. A cup. What? Crazy. I would have thought that's way too much. But that's what he was doing. And he was running an Indian restaurant, I think, in India. So, you know, there's 100 million ways to do it. So I'm just going to dice up this garlic. So I've got 4 cloves. And once the onion's done, I'll cut up the meat, throw it in, and I'll throw in the spices. And the trick with Goa cuisine is they love vinegar. They love to use vinegar, so I'm going to use vinegar. I mean, they say it's, you know, done as a preservative, which I guess it is, but it's also going to give it a tangy. It's going to have a tang because of the tang of the vinegar. One guy I was watching, he put tamarind in. That's going to give it a tang as well. But I don't think tamarind's in the original, in the traditional version. Oh, how's this going? Caramelising along nicely. If I'm going to make a habit of cooking like this, I'm going to have to get some ghee. Because, you know, ordinary butter burns easily, too easily. Right, oh, check it out. This is a beetroot. I grew this myself in the back garden. Huge. That'd be like, that's the biggest beetroot I've ever grown. So I don't know if I'm going to use it all, but I'm going to use probably a lot of it. I'm definitely going to use most of it. I might use it all. I'll probably use it all. Probably. Anyway, let's have a look at this piece of brisket, what I bought from the butcher. They're never really fresh, eh? I mean, it's pretty good though. I mean, look, it's quite red. That's quite red there, but the outside's a little bit grey, I'd say. It smells a little bit fruity, but it's not bad. So you'll be right, so make sure you use it today. It really annoys me that the supermarkets don't sell these other cuts. You can't buy brisket in the supermarket. I mean, I know I've said this before, but you're lucky if you can buy chuck. A lot of the time you can't even buy chuck, depending what day of the week it is or something. But in the supermarket, you can't get it. But if you go to the butcher, you'll get it. I just want to gently cook the garlic, don't want to burn it. That's pretty good. Alright. So look at this piece of brisket. I'm going to cut this piece of muscle off. So. Oh, that's it. Let's go on there. So no. Let's have a look. Cut into it and have a look. I want to keep some of the fat, but I don't want to keep it all. Yeah, quite a bit of fat along that area. And there's this cartilagey thing which I might just... There's a strap of cartilage along here which I might just get rid of. I mean, it'll be alright, it'll stew down, but... So you know, this really, it's really not very fresh. I don't know, Mr. Butcher. It's really not very fresh. What am I going to do? I mean, it's the only butcher in town. That'll be alright. I mean, yeah, it does smell a bit fruity. Well, you know, when it stews down, I mean, this is a big reason why they invented curries in the first place, because the meat was often not really fresh. Not really fresh. A bit dodgy. So you put the strong spices in to cover up the smell and cover up the taste. That'll do. Yeah, no, well, it's the world we live in. Things used to be different when I always say things were different when I was a kid. But butcher shops in the old days, you know, because everyone used to go to the butchers every day, so because you couldn't buy meat in the supermarkets. In fact, when I was really young, there were no supermarkets. Didn't exist. When I was like 3 or 4, there was no supermarkets in Australia. There weren't any. But anyway, meat. So yeah, in those early days, if you wanted meat, you went to the butcher. That was the only place you could get meat. And because people went there every day, the butcher was, the meat was always fresh. Always fresh. You know, really, really good meat in those days. And meat used to be cheaper there, you know, in those days. Everyone could afford to eat meat, you know. Like even if you went back to medieval Britain or something, people used to eat meat. That was their main thing they ate, was meat. So meat was not dear. Even the poor people ate meat, you know. Meat was not dear. Not like it is now. Bit pricey now. It'll be alright. It's just just starting to turn. It'll be alright. God, there's a lot of fat on that. Mostly fat. Mostly fat. Whatever. Alright. Now, as you remember from, you watched my chocolate brisket recipe. My chocolate brisket pizza recipe. If you watch that, you'll remember that brisket takes a long time. When I say a long time, I mean 3 hours. So, get it started there. There's no rush, it can take its time. I'll throw that in. Throw the spices in. Now proper vindaloo, which this is not, proper vindaloo you're supposed to marinate the meat, the pork. You're supposed to marinate it with the spices and vinegar for 6 hours or 10 hours, or overnight. G'day people. It's been a good 3 hours since I recorded the last clip, and the meat, the brisket is stewed right down to fibre. I'll give you a look. Let's have a look. As you can see, stupid phone. As you can see, there's hardly any water left. So let's have a taste. Oh yeah, very nice. The meat is really disintegrated. It's fantastic. But it is a bit, I think I put too much vinegar in. I put a little bit too much vinegar in. And yeah, there's quite a bit of chilli, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I just feel it's a bit too bitey. You know, bitey from the vinegar, bitey from the chili, and what? It just doesn't seem. You know, I want something a bit. How would I describe it? Not sure how to describe it. Anyway, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put some coconut in. I'm going to put some coconut extract in. You know, mostly the extract with a bit of milk. What they call coconut milk. You know, sometimes what they call coconut milk is the water. I think, yeah, Woolworths did that once to me. You bastards. Because Asians wouldn't do that. Because Asians know that coconut milk is what you get from the extract. What you get from extracting the flesh and squeezing it. You know? So I'm just going to add some. There's about half a can I've added. Hang on, I'll just wash my hands. Yeah, just a bit too bitey. I just want to tone down the bite. Add a bit of cream. In fact, I'll put the whole can in. Just put the whole can in, be done with it. Want a bit more cream. I don't really want all that bite. Now I believe that vindaloo doesn't normally have coconut milk. I did watch some Indian guy making it with coconut milk and I thought, you know, that's not right. Well, you know, it might not be right, but I'm not strictly making vindaloo anyway, so I'm just doing what I think is going to work. And I think the coconut milk should make all the difference. I think. It's certainly added a lot of liquid. Probably more liquid than I would really want. But I can boil that liquid away a bit and she'll be right. Now sad to say, my camera cut out again at the end of the first section of this clip. So annoying. I mean, you missed the whole beetroot discussion. There's nothing I can do about it, people. It's just the way the camera works. Half an hour and it's gone. Yes, I think that's better. It's toned down a little bit. Not a huge amount actually. It's still a lot of bite in it. I shouldn't have put so much vinegar. I went a little bit too much vinegar. But it's alright. So what I did was, I had a huge beetroot. So I'm basically cooking this, it's the brisket and beetroot. So there's almost as much beetroot as there is meat. Very similar amount. Which I peeled the beetroot and I chopped it up into cubes, and it's been cooking for 3 hours. So the beetroot is very tender, very tender. It's amazing beetroot, you know, it doesn't actually fall apart. It gets softer and softer, but doesn't actually fall apart. I mean, I guess if I cook it for another hour or two, maybe it will fall apart, but it's still holding its structure. But the brisket did fall apart, which is a good thing. Because until it falls apart, the brisket's no good. But once it falls apart, it's great. Alright, I'm going to come back. I'm just going to let that boil off most of that liquid, and I'll come back in, say, 5 minutes. Okay, it's been about 10 minutes, 10-15 minutes, and the curry has reduced, or the coconut milk that I put in is completely reduced. So I'll just show you what that looks like. Okay. So as you can see, there is still some liquid in there, but it's going to be fine. Going to be fine for the moment. So I've just cooked some rice. I always cook Thai jasmine rice, always. So half a cup of rice. That's half a cup before you put the water in. No worries. I'll put some and another bit. And there we have it. There we have it. Curry. Beef curry made from brisket. Sort of vaguely based on vindaloo, but it's not really exactly vindaloo. Quite a bit of beetroot in there. Alright, so to go. Let's get some rice on the fork. Quite a rich flavour. Quite a rich flavour, really. When you get the gravy, and when you get some meat, because the beef is all broken down to fibres, it's basically everywhere. It's everywhere except for inside the beetroot. Of course there's no meat inside the beetroot, and the beetroot sort of stays together, so the beetroot isn't as rich, but the rest of it, yeah. I just had a bit of what was once gristle there, but it's all broken down into a gelatinous thing. Rich, and there's there's the fat from the beef in the first place. There's the fat from the butter, and then there's the fat from the coconut milk. So there's quite a bit of fat in there. Giving it richness. Oh yeah. Brisket. Fantastic, but you've got to cook it a long time. But when you do, when it breaks down, it's really got a lot of flavour. A lot of flavour. Now I put 3 teaspoons of crushed chili flakes, and it's really quite a bit of bite, quite a bit of chili bite to it. You know, which there's supposed to be with vindaloo. It's supposed to be bitey. So when I compare it to vindaloos I've eaten in the past, it's certainly not hotter than they have been. It's similar, I guess. And the vinegar, the bitiness of the vinegar that there was there before I put the coconut milk in, it's toned down now. It's really nice. There's no problem. The beef's lovely and soft and broken down. It's all fibres and gelatin. It's really good. The beetroot's a bit of a funny thing. Beetroot's a bit of a funny thing. It's strange sort of unusual flavour. That's alright. It goes fine in the curry. It's not a problem. Let me just see if this camera's still working. Still working for the moment. It's going to cut out any minute because the battery's going flat too. Oh, yeah. Hot. 3 teaspoons of chili, of hot chili flakes. It's got some bite, which is good. It's good. I want it to have some bite. It's really good. Really good. It's just so much flavour. All those spices have just penetrated through every bit of meat and all the liquid in the dish. You know, fantastic. It's just so rich and full of flavour. So much flavour. And you've got all the intricate flavours of the spices, and you've got the chilli coming through, biting you in the mouth. And you've got the richness of the fat, you know, the richness, and it carries flavour. And you've got the strong beef flavour, really strong beef flavour of brisket. And you've got the flavour of the beetroot, which is quite strongish in its own way. You know, beetroot. It's a very distinctive flavour and a strong structure. Well, it's nice and soft now, but it still holds together. You know, it doesn't fall apart. Just got another piece of gristle there, but it's just become gelatin, you know. So if you like the flavour of beef gelatin, that's your ideal. Really good, really good, rich, strong flavour, strong, rich, full of depth. All kinds of stuff going on there, just incredible in the mouth. But you know that, you know, when you eat an Indian curry, you know there's so much going on, right? So, I'm not saying it's as good as the good Indian stuff, but pretty good. Pretty good. Which is why I keep making it, I suppose. Anyway, happy days. Enjoy your curry if you ever get any more.